it's me Catherine, and today I'm here to bring you my spoiler-free review for Truthwitch and Windwitch, books 1 and 2 in the Witchlands series by Susan Dennard. And we start with Truthwitch, where we're introduced to Safiya and Iseult, who are two best friends who find themselves caught up in the messy politics of their world and ultimately on the run. Especially Safiya herself, who is an extremely rare Truthwitch. She can discern truth from lie, and she's especially keen to avoid capture, as there are a lot of people who would kill for her magic if her identity was to be discovered. So we follow these two girls as they're on the run and get caught up in this politics, and a lot of stuff happens. So things I liked. So firstly, I'm sure people are probably sick of people saying this, but I really enjoy the fact that the main relationship in this series, the main focus of the relationship in this series is the friendship between Safiya and Iseult. Honestly, it's just so nice for that to be the main motivation for these characters. Just them constantly trying to protect each other, trying to get a better life for each other, trying to just be there and protect them, and just for that to be the main motivation rather than it to be romantic. It's just so nice. It's just so refreshing to read. I'm sure there's a lot of it out there somewhere that I just haven't been finding it. But it's just really nice to read. And on that same line, just the relationships in this series in general. If you've watched any of my videos, you will probably know that characters and their relationships are my thing. They're what makes or breaks a story for me, and in this one they definitely make it. Just seeing these characters deal with each other, and the fact that these characters are humans, which is silly, but the humans are not simple creatures. We're not just what you see and that's it. There's a lot more to us. And you get that with these characters. There's a lot of characters that you feel and you know that there's more to them than what they show to everybody else. There's more to them than what you see on the surface. And I'm so looking forward to finding out more about them as the series progresses, and discovering more, and them discovering more about themselves, because that's always great to see characters discover more about who they are and what they're capable of. And I just really enjoy that. Now, I also really enjoyed the fact that the romance, because there is some romantic aspects to this series, takes more of a backseat. As the main relationship is the friendship between Safiya and Iseult, and this female friendship, the romance stuff sort of takes a bit of a backseat. Not that it's not there, it is, and you can see it, and it's definitely there. It's not like me imagining it to be there. It is definitely there, and I really enjoy that, but it's not a big deal. It's not the main plot point to this story. It is, the main thing is the mess that this world is in, and these two best friends and the people they meet along the way trying to make it better, trying to get everything right, and I just really enjoy that. There's also a bit of politicking in this, which I also quite enjoy. As we're introduced to this world, we are coming towards the end of a 20-year truce, where so they've been living in sort of peace, relative peace, for about 20 years, and it's coming to an end. And there are people that want to extend the truce, want to make sure that it lasts for a very long time. There are people that want to end it prematurely, and people that are trying to make sure that it doesn't get renewed and things like that. And I really enjoy that. If that's not your thing, don't worry, it's not a big deal, but it is there hanging over the characters and is the motivation for why certain characters are doing certain things, and it's just constantly there hanging over the characters as they're finding their way through this world, which I really enjoy. So don't worry if it's not your thing, because it doesn't go too deep into it or anything. It's just there. It is there hanging over the characters, and they don't forget it. You know, it's not something that they forget. So I really enjoy that. And the world itself, I mean, it's a fantasy world, and I really enjoy it. I love reading about new fantasy worlds and seeing the similarities, but also seeing where they differ, because they all sort of have like that base, a basic model that they sort of use, and then they just build on that with their own things. And I just really enjoy reading about that and seeing what is new and different about this particular world. And the magic system as well is really interesting, because obviously there is magic, but not everybody has magic. The people that do are witches, and the witchery is not confined to just the elemental sort of things. There's still fire-based, earth-based, water-based, air-based, but there's also other things. So obviously we have Safiya herself, who is a truth witch. We have Iseult, who is a thread witch. She sees the threads that sort of bind people together, and she can see people's emotions in those threads and just sort of see their general life threads in general, and which is really interesting. There's blood witches, which, as implies, they have power over blood, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what else there is, because I feel like we've just barely scratched the surface of this world in these first 2 books, and I'm really looking forward to discovering a whole lot more, So those are the things I enjoyed, and overall I did really enjoy these first 2 installments, but they weren't perfect, because what is perfect? And honestly, in my humble opinion, I think Truthwitch was overhyped. Usually I do very well in not getting caught up in hype, but when I do, I almost always find myself disappointed, and in this case I was disappointed. Not completely, I still really enjoyed Truthwitch, but I enjoyed it a lot more on a reread when I already knew what I was getting myself into. But when I first started reading Truthwitch, I will admit that it fell flat. For me, it didn't live up to that hype. So if you haven't read Truthwitch yet, I mean, I think the hype sort of died down a little bit, but if you haven't read it yet, then maybe lower your expectations before you go into it, because you might end up disappointed like I was. So I will say that, but that's just my opinion. I do feel it was overhyped. Not that it's not a good book, I really enjoyed it, but I feel like it was definitely overhyped, and for me it didn't live up to that. Another thing is that Windwitch especially was much slower than Truthwitch, but both books I feel give you a lot of information, and they have a lot of foundations are set for the rest of the series, necessary foundations, which I enjoy. Okay, I'm just going to say that I enjoy this. I enjoy getting lots of information, finding out lots of information, and I have yet to find out how much a book has to put in for me to find it info dumpy, but I know quite a few people did find it info dumpy and were maybe overwhelmed a little bit by the information that is provided in these first 2 books, because there is a lot happens. I'm going to say a lot happens in these first 2 books, and it's all necessary, but I really enjoy it. I don't think there could be such a thing as too much information for me, because I just inhale it. Just inhale it all, give me all the information, tell me everything about this world that you possibly can, and I love that stuff. So for me personally, I didn't find it too much of a problem, but I know some people did find it info dumpy, so maybe just be wary of that. And one last thing is, I will say there is a trans character that is introduced to us in Windwitch as a companion to one of the main POVs, and while the character whose POV it is not mean to this character, ultimately they don't understand till towards the end of the novel, and they're not mean to them, and they do refer to them in their preferred pronoun to their face, but because they don't understand, in their own POV, they do refer to this trans character as the wrong pronoun, so just be wary of that if that's something you're sensitive to. And then I'm going to finish on a couple of little things that I really enjoyed, but maybe won't mean anything to anybody unless it does. Just sort of those little things that aren't really, you don't think of anything, but they mean a lot to certain people, and that people being me. So the fact that Safiya is tall, that being 5'8" and sort of getting tired of reading about female protagonists that are small and petite and compact, but still strong, like, I can't relate. I'm not, and I haven't been 5 foot for a very long time. I've been 5'8" since I was about 11, so having been this tall for such a long time, I can't relate to small people. I can't. So having a female protagonist, almost on a level with one of the male characters, it just makes me happy. It's ridiculous and maybe a bit weird, but I just enjoy that sort of thing, because I obviously, maybe I'm just not reading enough, but the books that I have read, like YA in particular, like the female protagonists just tend to be quite petite and short, and like, where are all the tall people, guys? Where are the tall main protagonists, female protagonists? And here's Safi, and I love that. I really love that. The second thing is probably even weirder, and maybe even less people will get, but the fact that there's an asthmatic character in Truthwitch. I mean, it's never outright said that this guy has asthma, but it is, he's described as having problems with his lungs, and having sort of wheezing, like his chest is described, when he's having like an attack, his chest is described as wheezy, rattly, and I get that, I get it, and I just appreciate the fact that there's an asthmatic character in a fantasy novel, and this character's attacks are triggered by normal things, and just to have this character who's not like because I don't know if there's any other asthmatics out there that are tired of this, but whenever you see like people, asthmatics represented in media, they're sort of the nerdy kids, and I think 9 times out of 10 are probably men who need to take a puff of their inhaler when the hot girl comes to talk to them. I'm just tired of that, like, that's never happened to me. I mean, my asthma's not particularly bad, but you know what I mean? Like, if you do sports and stuff, there are ways to get your chest under control, and these people are never sporty. So to have this character, it makes me weirdly happy. I know it's the smallest thing, but I don't know, it just made me happy. It just made me happy. I will say one thing though, like after this character does have an attack, I don't think propping them up with flour bags is a clever idea. I've never had a face full of flour, but inhaling a puff of flour, I don't imagine would do great things for my chest. So propping him up after attack, when he's still a bit wheezy, with flour bags that are puffing flour everywhere, I don't think is very healthy, but that's neither here nor there. The fact that he's asthmatic is just, it makes me weirdly happy. So the fact that Safiya's tall and there's a character with asthma, those are two little things that probably won't mean anything to anybody but the people that they mean something to, which I am one of them. So that is it, guys. That is it. So overall, guys, I really enjoyed these first two books. Like I said, they do set up a lot of foundation for the rest of the series, so I cannot wait for what we're going to get in the rest of the series. But that is it from me, guys, for this spoiler-free review. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are if you've read the series, or if you're planning on starting this series, because I do recommend it, and I will hopefully see you in another video. Bye! I'm here to bring you my spoiler-free review for Truthwitch and Windwitch, books 1 and 2 in the Witchlands series by, I've forgotten her name suddenly, Susan Dennard. I was going to call her Sarah. And because there is magic,